From muddy waters to a quarter-acre wetland. It all started with a problem that needed to be solved. In an initial meeting on January 31, 2017, with Columbus Recreation and Parks, it was suggested that a little rain garden could be built to make the area more attractive and functional. This initial idea evolved into a beautiful constructed ecosystem that holds a place of pride in the minds of the Sharon Heights neighborhood. Jump back a bit in time. Sharon School was built in 1947 to 1949. It was an elementary school which was closed in the 1990s and then leased for other purposes. In 2009, the school was razed. While most of the debris was removed, much of the parking lot and the underground structure of the school remained. You can see the footprints of the school in the parking lots in these aerial photos. The soils became waterlogged. The area was a soggy mess in the spring and fall. In the late summer, it was a patchy, grassy dirt area that was unattractive and unusable. One must never assume that volunteers know how to plant. Most of the plugs that were put into the wetland were very well rooted. Using a serrated tool, in this case a perennial knife, the volunteers needed to score the four sides of the plug. This serves to loosen the root ball and allow new roots to grow where they had been cut. After digging a hole that is equal to the depth of the root ball, the plant had to be snugged into the hole, breaking up large clumps of soil so the roots will be in contact with the soil and not with a bunch of air. Notice that everyone who is planting is wearing gloves. In the landscape industry, this is part of the PPE, or personal protective equipment, that should be used in the field. Mark Dilley is using an auger to dig holes for trees. Notice he is also wearing eye and ear protection, as an auger can kick up stones and debris, and they're also very loud. We planted on Earth Day, April 22, 2017. Who made up the we? Volunteers from the neighborhood, T&M Associates, Flow, Friends of the Lower Olentangy Watershed, and the Green Infrastructure for Stormwater Control class from Columbus State Community College, who all gathered to plant the wetland. The planting of 3,810 plugs and 6 trees took 2 days. Ordinarily, 3,810 plugs and 6 trees could be planted by the 30-plus volunteers in 1 day, but we were challenged by the condition of the soil. It was difficult to dig in the dried-out clay hydric soils. In order to grade the wetland to create the different planting areas, most of the standing water had to be drained from the site. When wet, these soils are slippery and plastic. When dry, they're like rock. Based on a plan developed by Mark Dilley of Mad Scientist Associates and Rachel Rhodes, a civil engineer and co-teacher of the Green Infrastructure class, Brightview created 4 areas within the wetland: a deep water pool, 2 shallow emergent areas, a sedge meadow that is the transition area between the wetland and the grass of Sharon Meadows Park, and an upland mound that allows visitors to look over the wetland. Only the last 3 were planted. Digging in the soil was very difficult. Patsy Deerhake, coordinator of the neighborhood volunteers, had the idea of asking the Columbus Fire Department if they would help us out and wet down the soils. Mid-afternoon on Saturday, a crew pulled up and sprayed 750 gallons of water over the wetland. It was soaked up immediately. There was standing water in the deep pool and in the lower area of the north section of the wetland, but the rest of the water just disappeared. On Sunday, the Columbus firefighters returned and drenched the wetland with another 1,000 gallons of water. After that, Mother Nature took care of keeping the wetland wet. Just another part of the story about the creation of this wetland, and there are many stories. 2 weeks later, the plants are standing tall. In July, the evening sun gives a golden glow to the grasses and flowers. The wetland is on its way to becoming a place of discovery, stress release, and just admiration for nature and her processes. Many donated personnel, equipment, supplies, and time to this incredible project. Thank you.